Welcome to Insight Builder channel and a new video on implementing document question answering with Neo4j and VertexAI. A step-by-step introduction of getting LLM to work with Neo4j. The challenge that we are going to solve in this discussion is to find a way to connect Neo4j with the large language models, and we have our work very much simplified because Neo4j team has already created the procedures or the subroutines that can help to connect Neo4j with both OpenAI as well as VertexAI. This discussion I will be diving deep into VertexAI connectivity. I will not be diving into OpenAI connectivity, but it will be very similar. So I'll be showing you some of the similarities there. Next is how the embedding of the relationships works. The idea here is that Neo4j or any of the graph databases stores the data in form of graphs, that is in form of nodes and relationships. This point I want to highlight here, that the entities or the data that is getting embedded is actually a text that is created out of nodes and relations, not the actual nodes and relationships themselves that is stored in the Neo4j database. So I'll be explaining to you what this means in a couple of minutes. I already told you about the procedures that has been created by Neo4j team. Neo4j team also has Neo4j also has got a graph data science library and an APOC library, which can do a lot of things related to data science activities and also regular data manipulation and math related activities. What we will be doing is we will be using something called as cosine distance, which is very similar to what we do in case of the nearest neighbors algorithm that we work with most of the most of the QA retrieval. So if you are new to all this retrieval, if you are new to a graph database by itself, I would suggest that take a look at this particular video, which I have introduced about knowledge graph and working with Neo4j, etc. You will see that the most of the insights that we are going to see can be found here. And if you are new to large language models as a whole, then the rest of the videos in the playlist inside this particular channel can give you a sufficient introduction. So take a look at these series of videos on BARD, that is Google's Palm LLM, and also the popular videos that discusses on, especially on the QA, that is document QA, and storing the embeddings in the vector data store. So all these topics are all those earlier topics dealt with data in the raw format, but in case of Neo4j, the data that we are going to deal with is in form of graph. So what I mean by graph, so let me directly show you. So this is this is the interface of Neo4j that we will get familiar with in a couple of minutes. So I'll be showing you how Neo4j stores the data, and this particular data that I'm going to show is it comes part of Neo4j examples by default. So once you get access to Neo4j like this, if you go to this play button here, and if you click on guide movie graph, then at the end of, after you complete this entire guide, so you can go through this step by step, and by end of it you can actually get this entire graph like this. So how cool is that? So if you zoom in, so this is one particular node. So yeah, let me zoom that in also. So if you click here, and you see something pretty interesting here. First and foremost, you see that there is something called as embedding here. So this is the embedding that we will be creating. So you'll be seeing that in a couple of minutes how to do that. And you see this is the tagline, this is the title. So when you follow this guide, that I was talking about in the beginning, this guide will not allow you to create this embedding. So that needs to be done in this particular video. But before that, everything, the released, the tagline, title, etc. will be able to be populated. So what is all this embedding going to do, and how are we going to work with it? In the usual case, whenever you are trying to do a document question answering, so what you'll usually do is, let me go to the Jupyter Notebook. So you will have a Jupyter Notebook which actually connects with the database, and you will have, in most of my videos, I will use LangChain or some of the Python Python libraries to query the documents by using something called as embeddings. So how are we going to do in this particular Neo4j case? So let me show you actually what happens. So I will be explaining this as usual. I'll be explaining this at the end. So I'll be first of all, I want to show you what is how the embedding works. So there is something, there is a procedure called as APOC ml.vertexai.embedding. So this procedure takes in the text in form of the list that you see here, and you need to give the Google authentication token. So this I will show you how to get it, and this is the project that you have to create inside Google Cloud Platform. So if you give all these things, and you'll see the project, the embeddings are getting created here. So the embeddings, once the embeddings created like this, then what you can do is you can actually take something, take a sentence like this, and then you can actually use the document QA similarity analysis that is already available with graph data science. So graph data science so graph data science is one of the libraries that is available in Neo4j, and it's an extremely powerful library. In that graph data science library, there is something called as gds.similarity.cosine. So this particular function can tell the embedding, the source embedding, that is the query embedding, with respect to the already existing embeddings. So how close the source, the query embedding is close to the already available embeddings. So this looks a little confusing. So let me go to this graph. So what I mean to say is, so all these nodes are having these embeddings, right? So you see that there is lots of embeddings here. What I'm trying to explain is that when I create a query that who acted or who played in matrix, that will create an embedding which is like this. That will create an embedding which is like this, which is in form of numbers. And then when I use this gds.similarity.cosine, and this is the query embedding, and this is all the other embeddings that is available in this location. Okay, that is already created. It will check each of these embeddings with the query embedding and see which embedding gets maximum score. And the query embedding that gets the maximum score will be the correct answer. So when I actually give this query who played in matrix, so I get these three output. So I get the movie title, the Matrix year 1999 movie, the Matrix Reloaded year 2003, and Matrix Revolution year 2003. So these three movies and the players the actors who acted in that movie are also getting listed here. So when I get this context, and I can actually generate the answer using the large language model. In order to connect the Neo4j with large language model, there is again one more procedure that has been created by Neo4j team. It is again VertexAI.completion. Same way, like how you see VertexAI here, there is a separate there is a separate procedure called OpenAI.completion and OpenAI.embedding. It is very similar. Only thing is that the OpenAI embeddings will only need the API key. It will not need the project. So that is the only difference. But rest of the things are very similar. So you don't need to worry about that. However, what you need to really worry about is getting the API key in case of VertexAI. So it is a little bit challenging. And okay, this is what we are going to finally get. And how are we going to get it? So this looks like a proper sentence. So you might be wondering, so if I go to the Neo4j database, you see that this particular node, when I click on any of these nodes, you don't see anywhere a proper sentence, like the sentence that you are finding here. You see a proper sentence here. but there is no such sentence when you're looking at this particular node. So how is the sentence getting formed, and how is the answer, answer is getting generated? So all these things are what we will be seeing in this particular discussion. So with that said, let me go back to the presentation. Neo4j is very similar to SQL, the structured query language, and any of the databases that you have got. Only thing is, it has additional superpowers of working with the relationships that you can create between nodes. This gives you different way of thinking about the data, and a lot of things can be done with that. But in this particular discussion, we are just creating a kind of a knowledge graph. So let me go back to the presentation, go back to the browser. So you see this particular graph that you are seeing here. This particular nodes you are seeing here, it looks it doesn't look any it doesn't look as if it has got any connection. Now let me actually do one small change. Let me remove the movie and let me execute this right now. So what will happen is, you will see that movies and the persons, so there are two tables or two sets of data available in this particular database, and you see there is connectivity between them. And if I zoom in, so you see that for an example, yeah, so this is a little bit complicated. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do something more interesting. So I'm going to do a filtering. So I'm going to say where n dot year, I think year should be fine. Let me check it. Just a minute. Released, yeah, n dot released. So this is one of the properties that is available inside the nodes. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to talk only about those movies that has been released about 2007. So let us see what happens. So I'm just trying to filter the data based on the release date of the movie. So once I do that, I see that I have got only 4 movies right now. And along with this, I want to also get both the movies as well as the person. So I'm going to ask for that. So let me ask for the person, and let me get both of them. So in this way, so what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to get both the movie and the people who have acted in that movie. So let us see how well the database or the details are coming out. So you see that I'm able to get all the persons here. So you see there are lots of persons, but from the movies that they have acted, so these are the movies that have been released after 2007. So you can see that Ninja Assassins, Cloud Atlas, and if I try to pull them out a little bit differently, then you can see that there are kind of relationships there available between them, right? This is what Neo4j can do. So this can create lots of relationships, and you can actually look at the relationships in a different format. Again, so why did I show it to you? Because this relationship gets converted to kind of a text format, and the text is getting embedded, and we are only going to look at the text finally. When it comes to converting this entire node and the relationship into text, we are going to use Cypher, a language called a Cypher query language. And Cypher query language is also, again, it has a lot of intricacies. If I would urge you guys to take a look at this particular Cypher cheat sheet. So this particular Cypher cheat sheet has been provided by Neo4j team again, and this cheat sheet goes through all kinds of Cypher query that you can create, and it gives a very in detail examples for all types of challenges that you can face. So I would suggest that take a look at this whenever you are starting to work with Neo4j. I would suggest you to, first of all, complete their tutorials. So if you come here, you'll find a couple of their guides and tutorials, complete that. And once you are done with that, then go here and start practicing each and every command, and you see how the output comes. This is how you learn Neo4j really fast. And it's very similar to SQL. And SQL or any of the query language, can be best learned by practice. And yeah, Neo4j team has given a huge opportunity for us to just copy their queries and then come here and paste it. So you can just paste it like this and you can do it. But I strongly urge you guys not to do that. Initially, when you are practicing, type out the queries and practice them step by step. So Neo4j, unlike SQL query language, where you have to connecting two queries is difficult, but in case of Neo4j and graph database, connecting queries are very, very easy. What I mean by connecting queries, so if you are going to, as I was doing, so you saw that I was trying to get the details from two labels. In case of Neo4j or graph database, the tables, the regular tables that we talk about in SQL is called as labels in Neo4j. So movies is one label and person is another label, and in order to get the data from them, all I need to do is have a comma in the middle. But the same thing if you are going to do in case of SQL, you are going to have a join process, and the join process can be a little bit difficult to understand. But you see what happened in case of graph, in case of Neo4j, all these people or persons are not linked with any of the movies, but still they got populated. So even if there is no any connection, still it got populated. So this is a very different way of looking at Neo4j and the graph data that is available. As you saw already, the way to work with graph data structure is completely different from the way we work with tabular data structure. If you guys are still trying to wrap your mind around it, it's pretty normal. So don't worry about that. It will take at least a couple of hours to get used to this. Just immerse yourself in this particular technology, then you will be able to master it in no time. Okay, so I just gave you an overview of what is going on, and the purpose I was trying to make you aware of this is that as we dive deep into the next steps, so what you'll be doing. So I told you that what is going to be expected, how are we going to solve it. The steps we have to do is, first of all, we have to enable VertexAI and get their API access token. We have to install VertexAI procedures in Neo4j Docker. So I'll be telling you how to do that. Then we have to create the Docker instance inside the Cloud Virtual Platform. So I'll be showing you one of the steps I'll be taking. The Docker command that we will be using is this Docker command. As when I initially spoke about Neo4j, I told that there is two libraries, that is APOC and Graph Data Science. These two libraries come as a module, or like how we do pip install in Python. You can also install these modules into Neo4j database by using this something called as plugins. So you can actually use this particular commandlet Neo4j environment, Neo4j plugins, APOC and Graph Data Science, and that will pull in the necessary APOC and Graph Data Science module into your Neo4j database. And this entire command will create a Docker instance inside your laptop or inside your cloud instance. So I'll be showing you how to do that. That is the next step. And I'll be breaking down the Cypher. So Cypher is the query language that we are talking about, and we'll be going through a lot of Cypher query language commands in this particular discussion. And the salient commands or salient functions that will be coming across is collect, reduce, coalesce, substring, and APOC related procedures like join, iterate, vertex embedding that I already spoke to you about, completion, and graph data science similarity. These are the various functions that we'll be coming across, and I've given a brief introduction about what these functions do. So you can take a look at this. And okay, so that is a brief introduction of what we are going to do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys to join me to practice. So this time this is going to be a little more intensive. So you guys have to either have a laptop or laptop that you can install Docker and you can start working with the Docker mission, Docker instances. Or if you have Google Cloud Platform or AWS or Azure, just spawn up a virtual instance and then follow along. You will need a basic Linux with Ubuntu. That should be sufficient for you guys to start working with this particular application, particular discussion. So I believe that you will learn a lot in this particular video. It will be a little overwhelming, but try to work with that. So you will actually find that most of the time in the development world, you are not given a lot of time. So you are just given 2 or 3 days to master a particular tech, and 4th day you are expected to start building products and services out of it. How people do this? So it is possible because you solve problems. So if you go up and take a look at all this functions that you are seeing here, all these functions solve certain problems. So that is what I have spoken. I have explained here. So what kind of problem it solves, or what kind of output it creates. So it text.join joins the elements into a string. Periodic.iterate iterates over the nodes. Vertex embedding creates embeddings. It's pretty straightforward, right? Once you understand that, okay, you are going to have certain series of problems, and you want the library, or you want the platform or the programming language to solve it, you will be able to locate it inside the programming language. So when you are trying to learn the programming language or the new platform like Neo4j or new database, then all you need to do is you need to understand what kind of problems you will face and how to solve them using the given functions and libraries in the ecosystem. Now, let me dive deep into the Google Cloud platform for you guys to take a look. First and foremost, you guys have to. This is the cloud platform where I am, where I have started the cloud instance. So this particular cloud instance has got I've already installed the required Linux into this, and I have got an external IP for this, and this IP will be changing, so you don't need to worry about this. This is not a static IP. And this particular setup also has got the firewall rule setup in such a way that the ports 7000 to 8000 in this particular environment is open for both ingress and egress. So you guys have to create a firewall rule to both allow ingress and egress. So why I am asking you to allow that? Because if you come to this Neo4j database, and if you take a look at this particular address, you see that I am connecting to port 7474 and I am browsing from there. So this is the IP that you saw here, and this is the port number. So Neo4j basically is served in the port number 7474, and you will be able to get this particular output, this particular window. And how to check whether all your necessary data is necessary libraries are installed? It's very simple. All you need to do is you have to say call and APOC dot. So once you do APOC dot, it will list all the possible functions and modules. So we are going to go into ML module, and you have to see that you will get both OpenAI as well as VertexAI. One thing that I wanted to highlight here is, if you are going to use the Neo4j the sandbox. So if you go to neo4j.com, you will get access to sandbox. Inside the sandbox, you will get only access to OpenAI completions embeddings, not VertexAI completion and embedding as of this video. Yeah, in the future, when you are watching this video, if you go to sandbox, you might be able to get access to VertexAI chat, but as of this video, you will not get it. So that is why I am going to create I will show you how to create the Docker instance where you can get this VertexAI output. That is one thing that you need to check. And second thing you need to check is, you need to type GDS dot. GDS is Graph Data Science Library, and once you type this, you should be able to find the okay, it is similarity. Just a minute. So in case of GDS, you don't need to use the call. You have to just say GDS dot similarity, and you will be immediately able to see that you can get access to cosine. So this is one of the ways you can take a look at this. So GDS is also installed. So how to get to this particular point? Once you have got the virtual instance, just create an SSH. So this particular SSH I have already done. And okay, before we go to the SSH, I want to show you something in the Cloud Console. What happens in case of Google Cloud Platform is you have to do something called as Google Cloud Application Default Login. So you have to use this Google Auth Application Default Login command, and you need to complete the login process. So once you do the application default login, it will start the login process, and once you say yes, so what will happen is it will create an authentication link for you. So once you click this, it will create a separate window open for you guys, and you have to give access to this particular account. And once you give the auth library access, then you will be able to, okay, that is, you have to copy this, and then you have to come here and you have to paste the authorization code. What all these are going to be random. So you might think that, okay, I'm sharing all these things. No, nothing is going to be available, nothing is going to be constant, and these things will be keep on changing, right? And after you do the application login, and then you need to ask for print access token. So you need to do this, and then only you will get this access token, and this is the access token that you need to use it when you are going to use it with any of the VertexAI or embedding or VertexAI completion. So that is how you get access to the API key in case of Google Cloud Platform. So this is the first and foremost step I want you guys to understand. This looks a little bit convoluted in case of Google Cloud Platform when compared to OpenAI. So in case of OpenAI, all you need to do is go to the platform.openai.com and get the API key there directly. This is a little bit different, and you also need to have a project that is running, that can project that is created inside Google Cloud Platform, to which your billing is connected. So you have to enable billing. In case of Google Cloud Platform, there is $300 initial credit that is provided for you guys to explore the technology, and VertexAI and also this particular embedding and PALM model come under that credit, $300 credit. So you can actually explore it, and it is one of the good opportunity for you guys to get a hands on all this tech at no time and no cost also. That is first thing. Okay, so you can actually close this. You don't need this anymore. So you will actually need it once I start explaining. That is first thing. Next thing is you need to get access to the, as I was explaining, you need to get access to the what is it called, the shell. So this is the shell that I have got right now, and this particular shell is inside the Linux. So if you say uname R, you'll see that it is a Cloud AMD 64 Linux. Okay, you will get the necessary details. So if you say uname A, so you will understand. So what is the entire kind of Linux that I'm using? This particular Linux, you should install Docker. So ensure that you have installed Docker and you are able to properly run Docker here. Once you install Docker and if it is running properly, then you must be able to execute Docker command without sudo attach. So without using sudo switch, you can use Docker directly. So then only your Docker is properly installed. If not, then your Docker has not got the appropriate authentication inside the Linux. So take a look at other tutorials out there. You will be able to find out how to do that. Once you have done this, once your Docker is set up and ready, what you need to do is you have to use this particular command that I've already shared with you guys in the presentation. So let me go to the PDF for a moment so that I can show you the presentation that I'm talking about. So right now I've already spoken about, okay, so this is something that I missed, enabling VertexAI API access. So let us go back to the browser and let me actually, I mean, this is, I have already covered it in the earlier discussion also, but still I would again discuss this. It should not be a problem. You have to go to the IAM, you have to go to the IAM admin and you have to go to the API services and you have to go to the enable API services and you have to enable the VertexAI API. So that is something that you guys have to do it. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that particular page. You guys have to do that and it will be up and running in no time. It should not be that difficult. it will ask for a couple of authentication, then you can do it. And so now we are going to talk about the second step, where we install the VertexAI procedure. And you need to get access to this particular extended jar. So this extended jar, as of this particular video, has got the, let us go back to the browser. I'm now hopping back and forth as usual. So I was talking about the APOC VertexAI, right? Call APOC.ml. Yeah, this VertexAI embedding VertexAI procedures can be accessed using this extended jar file, extended library only. What is the difference? So the regular APOC that is bundled with Neo4j is already core APOC. So there is something called as extended and core. If you go to Neo4j documentation, you can see that. So core APOC, meaning all the necessary functions that is included in it, is already approved, kind of approved. In case of extended, the functions that is developed by the open source community is getting added to the APOC, but it is not fully moved to the core APOC till now. So it is kind of two different versions that is available. So you need to get access to this using this particular link. So this is available in Neo4j contrib repository, and you can get access to it from there. Once you get access, once you downloaded this particular jar file, you have to move it to the plugins directory inside the Docker. I'll be showing it to you how to do that in a couple of minutes. And after that, you have to create the Docker and you have to start it. Now let us go to the browser and let us actually start working on creating the Docker. Why am I going through this process of showing you all these steps? Is the reason is very simple. Most of the time, the challenge is not doing the coding as such. So coding can be learned from many of the open source database or blogs, etc. But the challenge arises when you want to make the code to execute and run. So that is where you will face a lot of challenges. And the challenges are mostly when you have to connect various systems. And Neo4j is a database. Your Linux or your cloud instance is a different OS, and you have to connect it through firewall, and there is API keys involved. It's a lot of headache, and there is a lot of services that is coming up which completely does away with this API key activity. But not everything can be completely free from API keys. So you have to work with API keys, fortunately or unfortunately. Future might be different, but as of now, you have to live with this. With that said, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of how to initiate the Docker. I'm not going to start, I'm not going to create the Docker from the beginning, the Docker container. So let me actually, go back here to the PDF. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this. So I'm going to say Docker, and I'm going to just copy this. And just a minute, I have copied it, and I'm going to go back to the browser, and inside the cloud virtual instance, I'm going to just paste it. So once I paste this, what happens is, okay, so first and foremost, if you paste it like this, it is going to fail. Okay, you have to type all these things sequentially one by one. I'm just showing it to you how to do that, but you should not use any of the caps, so it will actually fail. And so here what I'm doing is I'm just creating a couple of environmental variables, and also I'm creating the volumes that is connected to the local machine and the Docker. So I am creating a Docker named test Neo4j, and this port 7474 and 7687, both the ports are they are port forwarded. So when you actually use this kind of a feature, you are going to forward the port from the Docker to the outside world. So that is what you are doing, and then you are creating volumes that connect from the Docker to the host machine. So in this case, the host machine is VV8 POC, and this particular if you see that I am going to have the folders in my home directory under Neo4j directory. So I have all these folders. I'll be showing you these folders in a couple of minutes, and then I am initiating these plugins also here. Even after I initiate this plugins, I need to still add the additional plugins by using the command. So let me stop this. So I have already done this activity, and this Docker is already running. So let me show the logs of the test Neo4j Docker. So this Docker is already running, and we are already seeing that this Docker is up. And you see there are a couple of errors that has also come up, and all these operations are getting logged continuously. Next is I want to show you the directory. So for showing you the Neo4j directory to which the Docker is connected, so I'm going to go to the root user. So after you become root user only, you can connect and check the Docker connected data directories. So what I mean is, so if I do ls right now, so you see that I have a folder called as Neo4j, and if I do a cd into Neo4j, I'll be able to go into the folder and I can look at the various folders here. And this particular folders are still in my root, in my host machine. So VV8 POC is my host machine. And if I do an ls plugins, you'll see that I have 3 files. So apoc.jar, this is the core apoc.jar, and this is the extended apoc.jar, and this is the graph data science.jar. So this 3 files is what I was talking about when you need to install. So this is this extended.jar file. You have to download it by using wget, and you can then put it inside this particular folder. Let me go back to the, so all you need to do is you have to say wget, you have to cd into plugins, and then you have to do wget and the link. So you have to come back to the presentation. You have to take this particular you have to take this link, and you have to go back to the browser and then paste it there. So once you do this particular link will download the jar file, and you can paste it in the plugins folder. So you don't need to do anything else. This is how you get the jar file into the plugins folder. Now I'm going to exit. I'm going to do an exit. So it will actually pull me out of the root access, and now I am in my Kamal JP user. If I need to check how is the Docker environment, for that I need to use docker exec it test Neo4j, and I am going to use bash. So now I am inside the Docker. You see the difference? So this is the Docker environment, while this is the root host machine. So this is the difference I was talking about. And if I do an ls here, you will see that again there is data, there is plugins, there is logs, there is import. All these folders are here also. So when I am using this particular command that I showed you a couple of minutes back, so let me go back to the PDF. So when I'm using this particular command, when I'm mapping the volume with this, which is in the local host, that is the host machine, to Docker machine. So these folders are already available inside the Docker machine also. These things are basics of Docker, but still I want you guys to understand this, because you might be new to Docker and you might actually be a little bit intimidated by the number of switches and the commands that we are using here. Docker is a important technology, and also it saves you a lot of time and effort when it comes to bringing multiple applications together. If you have to learn a new technology, it is better to work with Docker and learning Docker. That's why I wanted you guys to actually understand a bit better how these commands works. And this particular environmental variable Neo4j auth is basically the username and the password that you'll be using. Let me go back to the browser. So here we saw right now that how we can get access to Docker, and I'm going to come out of this right now. And I already showed you that Docker is upon the test Neo4j Docker is already running. So you can do a docker ps-a, and you can see that test Neo4j is up and running for more than 9 hours, and I have been also trying to work with various other Docker environment in this particular library. So I have been trying to work with VV8, and so that is what you are seeing here. So this is the brief, and once the Docker is up and running, so once I am able to, okay, let me do like this. Let me stop the Docker for a moment. I am going to say Docker stop test Neo4j. So this will stop the Docker, and once the Docker stops, what will happen is I will not be able to get connection to the connection to this particular database anymore. So if I come to this database and if you do a refresh right now, so you'll see that my connection to this database is gone. So since my Neo4j instance inside the host virtual machine has been shut down, that is, the Docker has been shut down, I am not able to connect to this particular port anymore. Now let me go back to the shell. I'm going to start the server, start the Neo4j Docker. So let me go back here, and I'm going to say start. Once you start it, it will start. It will not tell anything else. It will just return the name of the Docker back. You can check what is happening by looking at the logs. So if you say test Neo4j, you can actually check what is going on, and you'll see that all this activity is going on, and it is actually downloading something. And once the downloading is complete, once the Neo4j the binding etc. is already available, so here you see that it is able to find both APOC and APOC jar. Both of this it is able to find, and it is also trying to tell you a couple of information regarding the graph data science. It is downloading the data science jar also, and after all this is done, it has to say that it has started. If it fails in any of this step, then it means that you have made some mistake in the getting the files or setting up the files. So ensure that you are able to get this started output from the logs. Now if you go back to the browser, and if I do a refresh now, you will see that I will be able to connect. So now I will be able to connect to the Neo4j browser, and initially when you connect, it will be asking you to give the authentication password. So here Neo4j is the username and the password. So I had already shared. If you go back to the PDF, let me go back to the PDF. I told you the authentication is Neo4j is username and password is password. So this is how you set it. And once that is done, once you are inside, then you can start working with that. So, right now I have covered most of the things with respect to Neo4j, how to set it up, how to set up graph data science, how to set up APOC. All these things have been completed. And also I explained to you a couple of important steps that you need to follow with respect to understanding APOC and GDS. APOC and GDS are very deep and very, I should say, complicated libraries. They have lots of functions. They have lots of things APOC and GDS can do. In fact, GDS graph data science module has graph algorithms that you can use it for working with the various nodes that I already showed you. So it is not a simple application. So it has lots of potential, in fact. And I would like you guys to explore it. I'm just introducing you what is possible, right? I am trying it as much best as possible in the less amount of time that is available. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to take a look at these steps. So we have already created the Docker instance. We saw how to get the configuration up and running. And let me go back to the browser for a moment and ensure that my Docker has got the correct set of modules installed, or else I will be in trouble, right? So yeah, so similarity cosine is available, so that is good. Graph data science is installed, and I'm going to do a call APOC ML. Yeah, so I have VertexAI and OpenAI also available. So the Docker instance is properly set up. If you guys, this is how you actually get the Docker instance set up. Next, what we are going to do is we need to start working on the code. So I believe that you have learned a thing or two from this discussion. Do leave a like and share it with others. Do subscribe to my channel for further discussions on similar kind of topics. Not just in Python, but the overall open source ecosystem. So I believe that you will like such challenges, and also I always ask you guys to practice. So I provide all the necessary systems, setups, and also introduction of the systems for you guys to practice. It might look complicated when I introduce all these things, but you have to also develop the basics of working with Linux, working with Python, working with coding environment, working with cloud platform. If you slowly get all those things built, then whatever topics that I'm discussing, whatever process that I'm talking about can be easily implemented by you guys also. It all comes by practice. Next, we have discussed about Neo4j Docker, and we have spoken about the cheat sheets. We have spoken about how to load the library, and we can load the dataset. I showed you how to load the dataset by using the existing Neo4j guides. So if you go to this guide and if you follow this movie graph guide, and if you complete it, then you will have all the necessary data that is required for the next steps. So you have to complete that, and following that, what we are going to do is, let us go back to the PDF. Now we are going to get into the actual challenge that we are going to solve. Okay, the initial introduction that I gave you, that how to use embeddings and to get the QA done, the question answering done from Neo4j. So if someone says that working with knowledge graph, working with graph database is easy, you will right now know it's not the case. So knowledge graphs and Neo4j or graph databases are not actually simple to really understand. But once you practice it, anything can be easily understood. But you have to put the effort and do the necessary steps, like connecting various things and trying it out. Then it will be easy. What we are going to do right now is we are going to connect Neo4j database. That is the database that you see here. This is going to be connected with Python. And that particular code, how to connect it, it's very simple. So there is already a library called as Neo4j that you need to just do a pip install. These libraries that I've installed it, usually I install it in all my Jupyter notebooks. That's why I installed it, but it's not required. You need just Neo4j. And once you get this Neo4j, you have to use graph database, and you have to connect it using 7687. So this is different. When you are connecting to the browser, you have to use 7474. But when you are going to connect it through the Python environment, you have to use something called as Bolt. So this is a different what is it called, protocol, which is used by Neo4j to connect with Python. So that works on port number 7687, and the password and username is as provided here. Once you connect it, then you can start executing the query. So the query that I executed here, so for an example, I executed these queries, right? The same query, you can start executing it from Python environment or Jupyter environment. So that is why you do this. And once you are able to get this query, then the actual fun starts. So when I was trying to understand Neo4j, and I was trying to understand how to create embeddings, I came across this particular query, and I was immediately my mind immediately started procrastinating, because it was screaming that it is extremely tough to understand. How are you going to learn it, and how are you going to teach it? So understand one thing: when you are procrastinating, it means that your brain is either afraid or it's either tired. So try to give some time, try to give a break, and then attack the problem again. So that's what I did. That's why I'm sharing it to you guys. Once you attack the problem, I found that, okay, basically this particular series of queries are trying to get the data about the movies, and it is trying to create a sentence like this. So let me zoom in a bit so that you guys can see it better. So this entire query takes the data from the movie's notes, and it tries to create such a sentence. And this particular step you see here, this particular command is creating this particular sentence. and rest of these commands are trying to get the necessary information from the Neo4j database that we created earlier. I showed it to you in a couple of minutes back. So let me actually, show it to you again. Let me remove this, and that will actually, yeah. So these are the various nodes that was already created, and all these nodes have each properties, and these properties are queried, and from these properties, the sentences are created. So as I explained again, the nodes and the relationship themselves are not embedded. The text that is created out of these nodes and the relationship, this text is only getting embedded. So once I'm able to see this, the next step, what happens is the same thing, the same sentence you see here, the same sentence is created and then it is sent into the VertexAI embedding. So the entire context is sent into VertexAI embedding, and you create the access token in the project that I already explained to you how to do. It is provided here, and then it gets the embedding. And it gets the embedding not for one or not for two. It gets the embedding for all the 38 different movies that is available inside this particular database. It's taking a little bit of a time because it is trying to connect to the instance. So you can always terminate the query activity like this and you can restart it. So that should not be a problem. Let me continue here. This is the step that does, and the embedding is done here, and the embedding is stored back into the movie. So initially when I was discussing, I was showing you the numbers, right? Inside the movie node, that is done by this particular command, set command. You guys have to take a look at the Cypher cheat sheet that is available here for you guys to come up to speed with all these commands. This particular query, so when I do this periodic iterate, so it iterates over all the nodes and it gets the data. So let me again come back here and let me restart the query, or let me do one thing. Let me do a refresh on this browser and let me see whether I can connect it back. Let it happen, let it connect back. So this is how the embeddings are created and placed inside the Neo4j database. And once the embeddings are created, if it passes, so you will see that it is getting committed here. You see this committed option with number 38. That means the embeddings have been created. If it says failed, then it means the embeddings have not been created. So initially when I was trying to create it, the embeddings were not getting created because the access token was either expired or it was wrong. So you have to work with the access token. You have to go through this process I showed you in the beginning, where you have to go to the shell and you have to do the credentials authentication process. You have to complete that, and then you have to use that access token. So this is how the embeddings are getting created inside the database. Okay, I think that now it is there. Let me execute it again. Let me see whether my connection is through. So that will be a little bit easier for you guys to understand once the nodes are there. Okay, so that is one of the points that you guys have to understand. And after that, this process of creating the prompt and trying to question it is also very similar to what we do here. Okay, but in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to embed the question the same using the call APOC VertexAI embedding. You are going to embed it. You are going to give the access token and the project, and then you are going to use that embedding on the cosine similarity. And then what you are going to do is, once you get the score, you are going to use a score, and using the embeddings, we have got some similar embedding movie nodes. We are going to use those movie nodes here. We are going to match those movie nodes, and then we are going to get all the similar movies. And then we are going to create the same kind of a sentence. So this sentence is what you guys are getting it here. So initially when I was trying to understand this entire query, what I was trying to do is I was trying to break it step by step. So I go to this particular environment and I try to execute it one by one, execute the query one by one to understand the query better. So so let the execution continue. So I execute this query one by one so that I can understand what these queries are doing, and then proceed to the next step. So you see, even if you come to this particular step, I have executed a separate query here to show you the embedding, and then I have executed the retrieve context function, and I have seen how the output comes, and then I go to the generate answer. So generate answer is a simple, straightforward process where the completion, the VertexAI PALM embedding is given the context and the question, and it is asked to create the answer. So this particular retrieve context is going to retrieve all the context, and this, where is the generate user prompt. So this user prompt is going to take the question, and it is going to take the context that is created from this particular function, and then it is going to send both. It is going to send both. So generate user prompt, question, and context. It is going to send both to the VertexAI completion, and it is going to get the response, and that response is what you are going to get it out. So I believe that with this particular discussion, you have understood the entire process of how the Neo4j graph database can be used for working with QA, that is document QA. And also you must have right now understood that even if it is going to be graph database with relationship and nodes, the embedding is going to happen for the text that is getting created, not for the actual nodes or the relations that is available inside the graph database as entities. This is something very crucial for you guys to understand. And the idea is to show you guys what is possible with respect to graph database. And the next video, I'll be continuing this discussion on Neo4j, but next video will be about enriching the text documents, the documents that you have got, getting or creating nodes, that is creating nodes and relationship between various entities inside your text document, and then loading it into Neo4j database, and then doing the same process on that. So now you know that you can actually have nodes, you can have relationship, and then you can query it using the embeddings. You have seen how it is being done. So this entire process was explained by Thomas, one of the developer who is working closely in Neo4j. I introduced the blog in the last video. You take a look at it. So this entire video is inspired by his blog and his GitHub repo. The only thing that I changed is, instead of, he used OpenAI and I wanted to use VertexAI, so that we can actually, VertexAI has its own challenges. I wanted to show that also, and I wanted to also share how to implement the Docker environment. In my case, that is one of the additional point I wanted to highlight. The next step will be like, creating such kinds of graph with your documents by using knowledge graphs, and then try to query it. So once you create knowledge graphs, then querying it is not going to be difficult, but creating the knowledge graph and then creating embedding on top of that is going to be the challenge. So once you understand that, once you are able to, now you guys must be knowing. So if someone says that, okay, you can create knowledge graphs out of the text document and then use it for querying the doing the QA on your document, you know how much process it's going to take. So this is one of the, I'm not saying that this particular tech is bad or it is very challenging or difficult. What I'm trying to say is that this has its purpose. And Neo4j, the graph database, the knowledge graphs has their purpose, and you should know that what is the challenge this particular graph database and the graph concept is going to solve, the knowledge graph concept is going to solve. So I believe that you have learned a thing or two from this video. Do leave a like and share it with others. Subscribe to my channel for further updates, as I already explained. With that said, I would like to close this video with 4 words, that is practice, practice, explore, explore. See you guys. Have a great time.